Hej, gramy dalej w Broken Sword Shadow of the Templars Reforged. No i czas wreszcie odwiedzić André Lobino. Miejmy nadzieję, że tym razem będzie w muzeum. Wiemy, że tych dwóch oprychów zostało wynajętych, aby ukraść trójnóg.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
Anything? I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you. Not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
You don't believe in ghosts, surely.
Oh, yes, I do. 7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror, such as I have never seen before.
Scary.
No to rzeczywiście to jest dowód na istnienie duchów. Już drugi raz słyszymy o duchach, bo jeden straszył w Loch Marn. Śmiem przypuszczać, że mogła to być koza miejscowa. No a drugi jest tutaj.
I found this gem at a medieval site in Ireland.
That means nothing to me, monsieur.
How did you manage to get this job?
I had the right qualifications. A military manner, squeaky shoes, and an irrational hatred of children.
No, ten ostatni, myślę, to ostatnie kryterium było najważniejsze chyba.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Does this apparatus mean anything to you?
No, monsieur.
Thanks for your help.
Mężczyzna, czy to będzie ten słynny Lobino?
I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobino?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No. I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George'a Stobbarta. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay. Shoot.
What do you make of this tool?
Interesting. Where did you get it?
From a dig in Paris.
Vraiment? I didn't realize there were any excavations in progress in the city.
Czyli tak, potrzebujemy profesjonalnej opinii dotyczącej tych wszystkich przedmiotów z naszego ekwipunku.
Take a look at this nose, Lobino.
It really doesn't interest me, Georgie.
Georgie?
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, André.
Not now, Georgie.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
Somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
To bardzo współczesna. Natomiast taka orientalna muzyka się włączyła, widzicie, jak zapytaliśmy i miał coś do powiedzenia na temat tego klubu Alamut, w zasadzie na temat samego Alamut.
What do you make of this ID card?
Nothing.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Pegram? Professor Nigel Pegram? He's in Ireland, investigating a Templar site, isn't he?
He was, until he disappeared.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so. You're not one of those crazies who think the Templars still exist, are you?
Well, I try to keep an open mind on the matter. Do you recognize this white powder, André?
No.
Mogą istnieć skoro mamy ten klejnot oddać wielkiemu mistrzowi, no to w domyśle może to być wielki mistrz właśnie zakonu.
Do you have any use for this, Andre?
Shouldn't think so, Georgie.
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
Ciekawa historia, czyli już wiemy, że słowo assassins wzięło się od haszyszu.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud.
Ciekawe, czyli jest jakieś powiązanie między nimi a ofiarami.
Does the name Montfaucon mean anything to you?
Sure, it was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfaucon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfaucon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
No tak, widzieliśmy na końcu rozdziału w Lochmarn właśnie napis Montfaucon.
Where was the site of Montfaucon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was, the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
No proszę, to mamy też wyjaśnioną genezę niechęci do piątku 13, czy wręcz strachu przed tą datą.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flame-grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
But surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to the victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off, fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the Inquisitors.
No tak, po pierwsze, Baphomet pojawia się też w Panu Samochodziku i Templariuszach, ale zdaje się, że ktoś się podpisuje jako Baphomet w jakimś liście, który zostawia. Natomiast obecnie mówi się, że obecnie ludzie są źli, ale jeśli spojrzymy na starożytność, jeśli spojrzymy na średniowiecze, jakie tam były metody, w jaki sposób karano ludzi śmiercią, jak ich torturowano, to można sobie teraz się tylko zastanowić nad tym i dojść do wniosku, że jednak ludzie się na przestrzeni wieków nieco ucywilizowali. Niestety tylko nieco, bo w dalszym ciągu są wojny, może metody zadawania śmierci i bólu są bardziej wyrafinowane, ale i nie tak brutalne, ale w dalszym ciągu niestety człowiek drugiemu czyni zło. No i na porządku dziennym są takie sytuacje. Również wojny. Zresztą doświadczamy wojen także w naszej dzisiejszej rzeczywistości.
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
No tak, Templariusz od Temple, czyli świątyni.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So, their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
No, ale mogą istnieć neotemplariusze.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf.
Zdecydowanie tak jest, skoro zaczęła przegrywać nowa nuta.
This friend who has the manuscript,
Oui, the anonymous girlfriend.
she lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
No i teraz jest kwestia w tym, żeby zostać tutaj na noc, ponieważ oni planują napad. Trudno ufać tym nowoczesnym systemom ochronnym, alarmowym, więc zróbmy tak. Otwórzmy okno.
Attention! Please do not open the window, monsieur.
Don't you think it's kind of stuffy in here?
Better stuffy than dead.
What's the problem? Fumes from car exhausts?
Not just that, monsieur. There's a new burger bar opened up across the street. The Laughing Buffalo.
So what's the problem?
They cook their burgers on a charcoal grill, and the fat falls on the open flame. The amount of organic compound and smoke particles released is astounding. Since they opened, local air pollution has doubled, and it stinks like a funeral pyre. That is why I keep the windows closed.
No to musimy zaczekać, aż nie będzie miał nas na widoku. Chociaż ryzykujemy, jak widać, jakąś wielką tragedię i śmierć ich
The
wszystkich.
rod turned smoothly, and the window above me opened.
I teraz chowamy się szybko.
It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, monsieur.
Hey, Guido! Look at this!
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight. What the... Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor George.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean... it was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. And how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod. Aren't you going to try putting the gem on the tripod?
I guess so. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
The gem fits perfectly, but what does that prove?
Maybe the tripod has to be in a certain location.
There's nothing on the manuscript to indicate where, though, is there?
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bears that crest.
I sure hope so.
Tak, kobieta-kot. Trudno się było tego spodziewać. No i nie wiem, czy prędzej odstrzeliliby sobie stopy, bo gdybyśmy tam nie wskoczyli za ten totem wystarczająco szybko, no to wtedy George padłby trupem. Jest kilka momentów w tej grze, kiedy można zginąć.
What do you think the purpose of this tripod is?
On the manuscript, the gem is shown mounted on top of it.
So, we risked a criminal charge to steal a display stand?
Don't ask me. Maybe it's intended to hold the gem in a specific position.
Lobineau explained who the Hashashin were.
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy.
Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philip IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel.
I've heard of him.
Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
Raczej w stosunku do Templariuszy sprawiedliwy nie był.
Let's take another look at the manuscript.
Tutaj tym poszczególnym obrazkom już się przyglądaliśmy.
That's the tripod we borrowed from the museum. That's the gem that Pegram found in Loch Marne.
No, Czyli jakichś spostrzeżeń interesujących tutaj George nie ma na ten temat.
I have to go.
Already? You only just arrived.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Okay, I'll see you later.
No i co, znów pora chyba odwiedzić nową lokację, tylko jaką? Mamy tu już Montfaucon i mamy też lotnisko. Aha, na lotnisku nie mamy kolejnych miejscówek, więc możemy się udać na przykład właśnie do Montfaucon i to zrobimy. No, jest i clown, no ale to raczej nie Kan, nie ta postura.
I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
Do you know what this is?
It's a sewer key.
Does it mean anything to you?
Do you belong to some obscure arm of the Masons?
Templariusze są, no to muszą być też masoni. Swoją drogą bardzo ładna lokacja, no spójrzcie, jak wiele tutaj jest szczegółów, począwszy od tego drzewa zdradzającego, że chyba zaczęła się już jesień, bo mamy pięknego koloru liście. No, poprzez na przykład te drzwi do kawiarni, sam szyld, te wszystkie cegły i tutaj te nierówności na budynkach. No i postacie też bardzo ładnie wyglądają. Także tutaj każdy szczegół, myślę, zasługuje na uznanie.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Aha! A prosthetic nose! Very significant.
It is?
No, I am just having a little joke.
No, jeśli ktoś by zrobił taką protezę nosa, to chyba nie znałby się na rzeczy.
What do you make of this grease paint stained tissue?
Delightful. Would you like to see some of my used tissues?
Hell no!
Then please put yours away.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say? Oh!
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
O!
Would you like to shake?
I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart. They'd rebuild the Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key.
No, bez przesady, chyba nie aż tak.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern. Beyond that, who knows?
Take a look at this.
Ah, an electrician. My TV has been acting up. Could you fix it?
I doubt it. This isn't my ID. Look at this gem. What do you think?
Cut glass.
No, it's not. It's for real.
What kind of madman would go around waving a priceless gem under people's noses?
So either it's glass or I'm mad?
I didn't like to think about that for too long.
Prędzej ta druga opcja.
Do you know what this is?
Aha! You Americans with your notorious nose candy. I read Hollywood Wives. I know all about it.
If you tried to sniff this stuff, you'd wall up your nostrils. It's plaster of Paris.
It is. Thank heaven. For one awful moment, I thought I might actually have to arrest somebody. Alors, the paperwork. You have no idea.
No tak, nie jesteśmy Tonym Montaną, swoją drogą świetny film Scarface, Człowiek z blizną. No bo wtedy to byłby taki proszek do wdychania.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No. That would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
No tak, chyba nie warto.
What do you know about medieval ironmongery? Have a look at this little baby.
A tripod. What is it for?
You mean you don't know?
No, monsieur. Nor do you, I think.
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Sądząc po jego wieku, to akademię skończył już dość dawno.
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic, the most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
Jeden z bardziej interesujących rozmówców.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
I słychać po głosie, że chyba już nie jeden kieliszek wychylił.
A typically Parisian sidewalk cafe. Last time I visited one of those, it blew up.
I decided I was happy enough right where I was.
There was a small crowd of 5 sightseers.
It's a weird thing, but you can take the most intelligent people in the world, put them in their vacation duds, and hey presto, they look like morons. Why is that?
I had no desire to talk to the crowd. In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. I couldn't open it with my bare hands.
No ale tam mamy odpowiednie narzędzia. Nie to. Okej.
Hey, you. What do you think you are doing? Leave that comer alone. Now.
Czyli jednak jest na służbie.
Sorry, no harm intended.
You stay away from that.
The juggler was good. Why he couldn't put that kind of application into getting a real job, I had no idea. Maybe he just liked dressing up like a horse's ass.
No, George ustawicznie podkreśla swoją niechęć do różnego rodzaju klaunów.
Hey, you with the ball.
Oui?
This gadget is a sewer key.
I do not want it. Thank you.
Well, I'm not selling it, I just wanted your opinion.
It is hardly my area of expertise.
Look, a red nose.
Oh, you say, whoop-de-doo.
Does this grease paint mean anything to you?
It looks like one of mine, or at least another jongleur.
Or a clown?
Mais naturellement, a clown.
Hardly a breakthrough.
Have you seen this man before?
No.
It didn't seem right to fry somebody's palm when they make their living with their hands.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
You smoke.
No, I don't.
In that case, it means nothing to me.
Does this lab pass mean anything to you?
You work in a lab.
No, try again.
You steal lab passes.
No. Well, not as a habit. This was a special case.
No właśnie, bo jednak tę ukradł.
Feast your eyes on this.
Incroyable. Is it real?
I think so.
Some people believe that great gems always have curses upon them.
Oh, that's garbage. Although, now that I think about it, both of the people who had this before me
disappeared in mysterious circumstances. And the guy who was supposed to get this was shot and then murdered in his hospital bed. Do you want it?
No, thank you.
Oby z obecnym właścicielem nic złego się nie stało.
Does this plaster interest you?
Well,
Forget it. Forget that I asked. What do you think of this?
it is a medical device, oui?
Oui. Yes. I've got a medieval tripod.
And my Uncle Claude has hemorrhoids. So what?
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Le Templier? Ah, the last Grand Master, Jacques du Molay, was burnt on an island in the Seine in 1314.
Wow. You're pretty well educated for a juggler.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
How did you learn to be a juggler?
Juggler? What is this juggler?
It's you. You juggle, that makes you a juggler.
No, I am a jongleur.
A jongler? What's that?
Mon Dieu! A jongleur is an artist, a master of the contre-gravitique aeroballetique mysteries. In centuries past, the courts of the crowned heads of Europe and the jongleurs, witty, erudite men to whom the monarchs turned in their hours of need.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Our enemies are at the borders, plague ravages the land, and the peasants are revolting. Thank God we've got Chuckles the Jongler to throw his balls around. I don't think so. That juggling doesn't look so difficult.
Oh, it does not, does it not? Perhaps you feel you could do better, no?
I'll give it a try.
Be my guest.
I had no idea what I was doing. But this guy was obviously an idiot, so how difficult could it be? A lot more difficult than I thought. That's how difficult. Still, it was my big chance to be derided by complete strangers.
Not so easy after all, is it?
No, I guess not. Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
No niestety nie udało nam się sztuka żonglowania.
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
What do you think of the juggler?
Ah, he is excellent, most watchable.
But he's blocking the thoroughfare and obstructing traffic.
So, he is amusing. The traffic isn't. If he wants to block it, who am I to say no?
You're a cop.
Ah, oui. So I am. Ah, well.
So you're not going to do anything about this guy?
No.
He probably doesn't even have a license.
Ah, a license. This I had not considered.
So what are you going to do?
The instant I return to the station, I shall check.
Return to the station? Why not just ask him?
And spoil his concentration. What kind of a barbarian do you take me for? Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing. And not a humiliation for you.
What do you mean?
Who ever heard of a plain-clothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy. But if I juggle badly without it...
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you had it.
Więc to jest jakaś
I'll
podpowiedź.
see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Musimy żonglować z nosem założonym.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No, I just had an insight into presentation. Huh? Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury.
Hey, you forgot one of your balls. Hey!
But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change.
No tak. Jak się okazało... szkło. Jak się okazało, to on tylko jedyny obowiązek, jaki tutaj wykonywał, to powstrzymywał nas od tutaj zdjęcia tej pokrywy.
It was the glass the gendarme had left behind. There was no need to take the wine glass.
Tak się zastanawiam, czy już schodzić. Dobra, nie ma policjanta, więc zejdziemy. A jeszcze przeczytamy tutaj.
Fixed to the wall was a sign in 3 languages. In French, English, and German it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the knightly order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine."
Tutaj jest kościół, natomiast generalnie samo Montfaucon, jako to miejsce, gdzie dokonywano egzekucji, no to nie mieści się w kościele. Nie ma już do niego dostępu.
An ornate fountain stood in one corner of the square. I'd have to come by here in the summer to see it working.
The recent showers had made the levels rise a little, but at least the place didn't smell so much. What's a guy supposed to do with a sewer? Don't answer that. A weird little boat lay tied up. I guess they used it to get maintenance crews around. Either that or the Phantom of the Opera was somewhere near. There was a handle in the boat that fed out chain with a hook on the end.
Czyli można opuścić hak.
There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. The wall had flaked, and anything once written on it had long since gone. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templiers and something about innocence. There were 3 arches. Close up, I could see a faded inscription. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe.
No właśnie, czy jesteśmy na miejscu, gdzie znajdowały się szubienice?
If I wanted to get deeper into these catacombs, I was going to have to get onto that path. If the near edge hadn't crumbled away, I could have jumped it easily. Now, I wasn't so sure.
Więc tutaj, jeśli chcielibyśmy szukać czegoś związanego właśnie z zakonem, no to prawdopodobnie gdzieś w tym miejscu, ale dalszą część historii poznamy w kolejnym odcinku, bo ten już trwa 45 minut, także dziękuję serdecznie Wam wszystkim za uwagę. Trzymajcie się i do usłyszenia w kolejnym odcinku. Pa, pa.